All right. Thank you, Lisa. Welcome, everybody, for another edition of our Monday member extravaganza calls. And we're midway through April and have all through May. And again, we have some amazing people on the call. I'm Ron Leonard, the U.S. Core president. And more amazing to me, we've got Lisa Renz, who's the national director for the U.S., Dana, who is our executive assistant to Dr. Ivan Misner, and of course, none other than the man himself, Dr. Ivan Misner, joining us. Thank you very much, sir. And Chia, who is the U.S. Core Ops, U.S. Franchise Ops Manager. And so glad to have everybody on today. And with those introductions, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you so much, Ron. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, I was a little worried there, Ron, that you're stealing Thesha for me. So yes, Thesha does work as the U.S. Franchise Operations Manager. You can't have her. She's wonderful. Yeah, so we're very excited to have you on here. We just want to make sure that you not only just you're here, obviously, we want to make sure that you share the good word about all the great work we're doing on this call. So we want to get people really excited about member extravaganza. So we're going to be doing these weekly calls at 11 and 5 Eastern time. So we just want to encourage you to take this post, share it around so everyone knows how to hop on this call and take advantage of the great information that we are sharing throughout this call. We want to, of course, start off with great recognition for all the great work that you've done and the impact that you're having in the communities around you, which is really the whole point of member extravaganza, making sure our members, have great impact and success through membership extravaganza and how that results in our communities. So we've seen in the month of March that for BNI, we passed 1.3 million referrals, which resulted in just over $2 billion in closed business for our members. So congratulations on that work. Of course, this is just a picture of it. Ultimately, in the last 12 rolling months, we had over $23.3 billion and thank you for closed business passed among our members, which was a result of 15.5 million referrals that you did in the last 12 months. So congratulations to you all on such great work that you're doing and really making an impact in the lives of everybody through this great work that you're doing. So we do want to do a look back on Member Extravaganza 2023. We did a cruise last year with the Royal Caribbean Independence of the Sea. This year we're doing it Allure of the Seas, but we do have a video we'd like to share with you. So we'll go ahead and we'll start that video. Yep.
And I'm going to restart the share so I can make sure we have the sound on. So bear with me one quick second. Yeah, share sound. Got to share the sound. I got to remember that. Is it not playing?
It is not playing.
There should be something down below, usually a play button.
Yeah, the button was there before. Okay.
Wait, that sounds like the BNI buzz happening on a cruise ship. Why, yes, these are the BNI Member Extravaganza winners. Meeting with Dr. Ivan Misner, founder of BNI. This is the USA BNI Member Extravaganza Cruise. Networking is happening.
All right. Did everybody hear that okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Good job, Dana. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
That was a good time, right?
Yeah, we have additional photos. It looks like it was a great time. And I certainly, Dr. Misner can certainly speak to it. And today we're going to be talking, Dr. Misner, a little bit talking about more of the how-to, because people want to know how can they qualify, and not just the technical aspects of how you qualify, but actually how do you invite people to your chapters and how do you get them excited and sponsor more people into the chapter. So we love these photos because it shows the people who accomplished this last year. But today we have the privilege of hearing from Dr. Misner and share some great tips on how we can actually do this. And we also have Executive Director Elaine Zambos. She'll be sharing this as well. So Dr. Misner, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you so you can give us some tips and tricks on how you can invite and be successful.
I would love to, and I'm going to do that by taking you online. Let me pull up. Yep, I've got it. Let me pull up my screen here and I'll show you a couple of podcasts and we'll talk about them briefly. Share screen. I'm on a different computer today, so there we go. So for those of you who are interested in inviting people, especially during this member extravaganza, there are 2 podcasts that I want to mention. One of them has many podcasts in it. So go to episode number 659. This is the podcast that has a lot. It's Inviting Visitors is Easy Online, which in and of itself has some content, particularly for those of you who are hybrid chapters or meeting completely online. But in the actual content, if you go to episode 659, in the actual content, there are links to 6 other podcasts that are really valuable in helping you to invite people. One of the things I've learned over the years is that, different people like to invite in a different way. And I'll tell you which one of these are my favorite. But Inviting People Good, Better, Best is a great podcast on, finding good candidates, better candidates, the best candidates. Inviting visitors to your feature presentation, which I thought was a unique concept. You're going to speak, invite some people to it to hear you. Inviting visitors, this is a classic video of 278. That's my favorite in the sense that that's the way I always liked to invite visitors, which is the we're interviewing technique. You talk to somebody and you say, I'm in a referral group. We get together on a regular basis. We're interviewing people in your profession right now to find the right person that we can give all of our referrals to. I think you might make a good candidate. And I think that's a way better way than most people are inviting. And, some people get a little too excited, I think. And I love that people get excited about inviting people to BNI, but maybe a little too excited. I mean, I've seen people like, oh, I am in this networking organization. And it meets early, and I know it meets every week, but it's a fantastic organization. You have got to, whoa, take a deep breath. It's okay. But you want to make it, you certainly want people to feel like not anyone can get in, which is, oh, by the way, true. Not anyone can get in. And so the best technique for inviting people to your chapter, I think, is the we're interviewing technique, which is episode 541, Inviting Visitors. Now, 547 is interviewing prospective visitors or prospective members, people who say they're interested. I also have a PDF there where you can download it. And, if we're saying we're interviewing people, then we really should interview them. And it's usually someone from the membership committee that does the interview. There's a lot of questions on that PDF that you can download. I mean, I'll show you. You go to 547. And as you go down, here's the PDF. You can download this PDF that has a whole lot of potential questions on it. But remember, it's an interview, not an interrogation. So don't ask every question. It's too much. What you want to do is just get people to open up and get a sense for who they are and whether they would make a good fit. So episode 659 will also link you to 458, 486, 541, my favorite, make a note of that. 547, which is good for people using 541, 572 focused invite days, and 633. I've invited everyone I know. True story about me saying to someone, I've invited everyone I know. I don't have anybody else. And this member totally took me to school. She taught me that I did, in fact, not know everyone else. So if you want to get your members to figure out what technique works best for them to invite, have them go to this episode 659, and then just click. These are all hot links. You can just click to any one of these. And between these, you're going to find a technique that works for you. I like 541, just saying. Lisa, anything you want me to add? Or Ron, anything you want me to add to that?
No, I think it's fantastic. These podcasts, what I love about them is there's one that resonates with everyone. So I encourage you to check out multiple ones. And for some people, if you don't have time to read listen to the podcast, I love that you can read the transcript too. Super.
Yeah,
handy.
you know when we do the transcript, we do the transcript because it makes it searchable. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to talk about your weekly presentation, you could just if you want information on how to do a good weekly presentation, you just go to search, click on weekly presentation, and it will pop up every episode that I talk about a weekly presentation. That's what I did, by the way, to find visitors. I just got on and did something about inviting visitors, and guess what? All the podcasts came up. So that's why we do the transcript, so that you can do searches just like this. Back to you, Lisa.
Yeah, no, it's really handy. So we really, yeah, it's just great. All right. So Donia said she's not really sure which one's your favorite, because you like kind of, you said they're all your little favorite.
Yeah, I did have, and I was pretty clear on that. It's my favorite because it's a technique that's worked for me for many years. The we're inviting technique. It's worked really well.
Yeah, I know. Fantastic. So, yeah, I think that's great. I think we need to have Elaine jump on here. She doesn't mind hopping on. We asked Elaine Zambos for BNI Tennessee to join us today. She's an executive director. She has over 35 years of sales experience. You can go to that slide, Ron. That would be great. Sales media training experience, including marketing and sales strategies for local businesses. She conducts training for a lot of people. As I mentioned, she is executive director of Southeast Tennessee. I think one of the really cool things about Elaine is, she has doubled a region in the last 7 years, and the business communities recognize that. And they actually awarded her a Small Business Award from the Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce in 2023, just showing the kind of great impact she's having. Her region has impacted the community over $49 million in revenue. That's fabulous. $49 million, talking about huge impact. She is personally living the law of attraction for the past decade and has incorporated her skills in making law of attraction the work of her business. That's fantastic. She enjoys hiking, camping, paddling, NFL football, and she's a past president of the Women's Business Association and past top 10 American business women. So we want to thank you, Elaine, for coming on here. We actually asked you for really good reasons to come on here. You're having huge impact on visitors days and really helping your members, get really excited about this. We really wanted you to share that, because I know that everybody's having different results in this and really could learn from your experience. So kind of share with us, if you don't mind. If you can go to the next picture, this is like this. Tell us what this is. This is a visitors day you had last week. Can you give us a little bit of information on this, and how did you help the chapter be so successful?
Sure. So thank you for having me today. We had 3 amazing visitors days, like in the last week and a half. This particular visitors day, this chapter we launched in May of last year. They currently have 38 members, and they had 38 or 40 visitors that day. And they were hugely successful with it, because first of all, they believed that they could launch. So when they launched at 17 members in May, and their goal was to double before their 1-year anniversary. And they had the belief that they could. So it always starts with the belief and mindset that if you think you can grow, you can grow. If you don't think you can do it, it's not going to happen. I remember my first member extravaganza, and I'm like, what do you mean I got to sponsor 2 people before I can even qualify to win? And in my mind, I'm like, I can't do this. And that was in 2012, I believe. And guess what? I didn't qualify because I believed I couldn't. So first it started with belief. So this chapter, not only did they believe they could launch, and they launched in record time, and they launched with 17. Then they went to 34, and they were like, oh my gosh, we are at 34. Next thing you know, they're at 38, and they want to do a visitors day. So first of all, they believed that they could do it. And so they did it in 3 weeks. 3 weeks they did this. And I was not a big fan of 3 weeks. And then when they explained it to me, the gentleman next to, like in the blue shirt with the short sleeves, he's the one that said, Elaine, when you were in college and you got your syllabus on September 1st and you knew your first exam was October 31st, when did you start studying? I'm like, October 28th. He's like, right. If we start planning this out weeks in advance, people are not going to, they're going to wait till the final push to invite anyway. So what they did was they spent $200 on a Facebook ad, and they put it out there and said, we're having an open networking. And they invited people to come through their Facebook ad. The other thing they did was a lot of peer pressure, really. Each week, those 3 weeks, the membership committee during the membership committee report would say, here's who everyone has registered to visit. And they called them out by name and said, these are the people who are registered to come. They also have a GroupMe communication channel, which we use a lot in our region. And every day there was chatter on the GroupMe of who they were inviting. And it was a phenomenal, as you can see, it was a phenomenal success. So basically each member had at least one person show up that they invited. And it was just a lot of fun to be a part of that. And as you can see, it was, like I said, it was great success. And so we're still going through the follow-up stage now with this particular event.
I have a question for you, Elaine. Okay,
Sure.
you use the term peer pressure. I would have said accountability, but I'm kind of curious. Did they like have a goal for each person on exactly what they needed to do? I mean, I know that they were sharing the results people were having, but was there kind of an agreed upon expectation that that drove these results?
So each of the successful days had different techniques involved. So with this particular group, it was like the fear of missing out. Like if you didn't have a visitor registered and coming, then you might as well take an absence that day. Like
Wow.
you can't come to the party if you're not bringing somebody to the party. So yeah.
That's awesome. No, I love that. I think it's fantastic. Dr. Misner, you look like you were jotting down some thoughts there.
Well, yeah, the comment, good catch watching me do that. The comment there about if you think you can or you think you can't. I mean, it's an old phrase, but I've said it for years. If you think you can or you think you can't, you'll be right.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this in real world. I mean, here's one of my favorites. I'll give you two of my favorites. One was Maine, the state of Maine. We had a BNI director who said, there are more moose than people in the state of Maine. You'll never have more than 6 chapters. That's it. And I'm like, the population, no, you can have a lot more. And he's like, nope, can't do it. He never did. The next director who took on after him opened 20 chapters.
Damn.
So it's like, okay, he didn't know he couldn't, and so he did. No, you flip that to me. I said to someone once who wanted to open up a chapter in 2 or 3 days, and I'm like, you can't open a chapter in 2 or 3 days. It's just, it takes several weeks. No, she said, we can do it. I'm like, look, I'll show up at the meeting, but you can't do it. I was wrong. She was right. She believed she could do it. She got 30 people. We did a kickoff with over 20 members, and it took 2 days. It was a Wednesday morning. I met with her Friday morning. We kicked off. So if I think I can or I think I can't, I'm going to be right. If the people in Maine think they're going to be right, and if you are a member or a director and you think you can make this membership extravaganza work for you, believe me, you can. It just takes a little focus and a little effort. That's the note that I made from Elaine's comment.
It's interesting. I know in our region we had, I had a gentleman who said, I want to start a 20-member chapter. What do I need to do? I said, you need at least 2 people and 20 classifications to do this. And so he's like, okay, well, give me 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, he had invited a bunch of people, and he had 19 categories with at least 2 people in each category. And you know what? That day he started a chapter with 19 other people. So he had a 20-member chapter in just after 1 week's worth of effort, or 2 weeks worth of effort, 1 meeting. He didn't hear some of the things that we hear about. It's hard to invite. It's impossible to invite. He just said, what do I have to do? Yeah. And he made it happen. And I think that, we look at Elaine's, some of the things that you're doing, these are the results of people, having the belief that they can do it and then just doing the work that is necessary and finding a way to do it. I love that you shared the multiple ways of inviting, because we all have our own techniques and flavors for how we do things. Yeah. George says success comes in the cans, not the cannot. So thanks, George. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Oh, Elaine, what did you do? Did you have like special tips or techniques that you did like with the leadership team to kind of get them going in the right direction?
So we have best practices. And so to kick off Member Extravaganza back in March, and then we did, well, actually, I think we started this in February for our leadership team call, and then in March in our leadership team call. So that's when we have all the, the leadership team members participate on a monthly call. And so we started talking about best practices. And then each week I put an email out that we call, and Lisa, I stole this from you, but these are the 5 things you need to know about BNI Southeast Tennessee. And we would include some of the best practices in that email and that goes out every Tuesday. But, the first is, call. When we say call people, invite people, well, the middle initial, right? Business Networking International. If you're going to belong to BNI, you need to be networking in other, not just your room, like other places throughout the city, right? That you need to go to other networking events because people there are networking and they want to network with others. That is the easiest place to recruit people to visit your BNI chapter, is other networking events. You just got to do it. You got to get off your tush and go. You have to do it, right? So then we're saying, okay, you have to invite people, just call people, whether it's people you meet at networking events, it's your friends, it could be family members, because there are so many of our family members who don't even know what we do, right? Or somebody from your church, or, your customers. Like, that's the biggest one, is just opening up your phone and calling your customers and inviting your customers to come. So invite people to come, and then they say, yes, I'd like to come. All right. I'm curious. Going to a networking event can be intimidating. Do you have a friend you want to bring with you as your networking partner? And so now you've got 2 people who are possibly coming, right? So they're like, I never thought about that. Yes, I would love to have Amy join me because, I would love to expose her to more networking, and she likes to go to events.
Hey, Elena, if you can stretch that out a little bit more, let's do a podcast on that topic, bringing a visitor. I think that's
absolutely.
All right, talk to Dana.
Okay, Dana,
We'll
I'm on it. Then we've got them registered, right? So we've registered the visitor. The visitor's bringing a networking partner. And so then a couple of days before the event, the person who's like, I've invited my friend, Susan, who's bringing Amy. So I'm calling Susan and saying, hey, Susan, remember, we're about our networking event next Wednesday morning at 7:30. When you get there, I want to share with you where to park, what door we come into, and, what to expect when you get there. And make sure that if you have a name tag, wear it. We'll have name tags if you don't. And then also bring lots of business cards. Do you want me to call Amy and give her that same information, or can you let Amy know as well? And it's that follow-up touch on the front end and on the back end, because so many times our chapters think that's the president's responsibility, the vice president's responsibility, it's the membership's responsibility. It's not. It's your responsibility. It's your visitor. You're the one who called them. You're the one who invited them. So you take the initiative to call and be that person to say, hey, let me share with you where to park. I'm a member of BNI as well as an executive director. Where my chapter personally meets, we meet on Mondays at 4:30 in the afternoon in the middle of downtown Chattanooga, which is tourist everywhere. But I've found like secret parking for like $2. If you park next to the building, it's $10. So I'll call and say, all right, let me just share with you where I park. It's $2. And they're excited, like, oh, thank you. And my visitors show up because I take that initiative. So, calling them and letting them know is, for me, the biggest part of it. And again, I always go back to, if you don't believe that you can invite people, then you're right, you can't. You have to have that mindset that you can invite people.
I love what you talked about with giving them directions. That's a great strategy. And for those of you who are thinking, well, that wouldn't work for me, that's not the point. The point isn't where to park. The point is the touch points, making the connection.
Yep.
So pick something else. If how to, where to park is not relevant. Pick something else, like, how to get there, or, whatever little details you can share that makes them feel that you're really interested in them, shows that you're really interested in them. That's the key. And I like it, Elaine.
We had a major fail. Do you mind if I share a fail? It's not always successes. So we had a major fail when we had a visitor. This happened in my particular chapter, so I'm not proud of this fail. But we meet at a restaurant that has a private dining room, but in the restaurant area, they do have a bar. So, right. So you walk in through the restaurant to go to the private dining area. So we had this young man show up who is he does commercial cleaning. He did not know that he would be asked to speak publicly, like to say his name and say what his business is. He freaked out. But before the meeting was over, he was sloshed. Like, he kept getting up. I thought he was going to the bathroom. He was going to the bar and doing shots because he was so nervous and so scared. We had to call him an Uber to go home. So that's a touch point to let your visitor know, hey, this isn't like a chamber event where you just show up and it's open networking and you just network. Like, you're going to be asked to share your name, your company, and give, 5-10 seconds about what your company does. And again, that's just another touch point, which I learned the hard way. But yeah, those the pre-touch points.
Yeah,
So
that's fantastic. And I just absolutely love that, Elaine, because you may not realize it's about me, because now I speak in front of a lot of people and don't think twice about it. But I was so apprehensive about going to BNI, my first BNI meeting. I invited 2 other people because I just wanted some of the pressure off of me, because I didn't know I was an experience. I figured if I had people with me, I'd feel more comfortable. I was so nervous when I first joined BNI that it was my 10-minute presentation. Someone else did it for me. So it's hard for me to imagine back, but I've over time invited people who were like, I would come, except for now that you've told me I have to speak, I'm nervous. So I've told them what it can be very brief, just your name, your company, what kind of business you're looking for. Like, I help script it. And even if they tell me, even I can't even do that much without being afraid, I'll let them know I'm happy to come and introduce you. And I'll let the membership or the leadership team know ahead of time that this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing, because I want the person to feel very comfortable, and I don't want them to be embarrassed. I don't want the president, no, you have to speak, because that's just not true. Like, we want people to get comfortable in their first meeting. And so I find ways around that, and then they really do appreciate it. And then they don't have that apprehension the second time going around when they come back, because they just appreciate people, meet them where they're at, and help them feel comfortable and welcome. So I love all the tips that you give, because whatever you can do to help remove the apprehension a person might have about visiting BNI, I think is really, really important. I think we've all seen that happen. So I love that, Elaine.
Thank you. We also had an event. So on the same day, so this chapter meets at 7:30 on Wednesday mornings. We have another chapter that same day, same Wednesday last week, that they meet at 4:00 on Wednesday afternoons. And same thing, but this chapter had imploded. And I thought we were going to, I didn't know what we were going to do with this chapter. We really worked. We got them back up to 17 members from 10 members. And they decided to move to a new location. And they went to the most, really one of the nicest places in town, it's called the Walden Club, and beautiful location. It's on the tallest building in the city, and it's got basically a 360-degree view of the city, and our city is surrounded by mountains. So no matter where you looked, you saw these beautiful mountains. And so they were doing an open networking. And so the president, and I can't take credit for this, but he says the success or failure of this event is on you. And they all chipped in money. They had $1,000 budget. It's like they were doing the spread, right? They had heavy hors d'oeuvres, and I mean, they just did a really beautiful spread of food. And so I'm like, oh gosh, quite honestly, I was nervous that they had 103 members or visitors show up, guests and visitors. And the pride in them right now is through the roof. It was amazing. And what they did is they all opened up their phones, and they all called their customers. They called their customers, And then, you know, obviously different people they networked with, and they also took an ad. They spent money on an ad for a $200 budget as well for a Facebook ad. And that was amazing. But I loved it when the president told them, like, the success or failure is on you and it's your money. Like, they all chipped in extra money to come up with the money for the party. And I asked him, I said, so what happens now? Like, with this relaunch, what were you hoping would happen at this event? And he said he used to be in car sales. And when they were in car sales on a Saturday, they might have a radio station come out and do a remote. And then people give out hot dogs and balloons and prizes and all this stuff, knowing that nobody's going to buy a car because they got a free hot dog. But what it did was it exposed those people to the dealership and to the different salespeople, and they could see the inventory. So their goal was just to let people know what BNI is about, let them experience what networking looks like and how they could grow their business. And we have, I think, 6 applications right now for their chapter, with, I don't know how many, several that are like, they're doing their follow-up calls now to get their applications. So I love that technique as well, to just say the success or failure is on each of you. This is your money. And yeah, and they just opened up, and they did it during a chapter meeting. Pardon me?
And their time and their effort, which is even more valuable. Ron, should we talk about the ship? Is there something else?
Yep. You want me to talk about it?
Because I'd love to open it up for a couple of Q&A.
Yeah,
questions.
sure. We'll run through the rest of this pretty quick. This year, the cruise is on the Allure of the Seas in October. It's one of the most amazing ships Royal Caribbean has. There's something for everybody on this ship. It is. I've been on the ship personally, and it is spectacular. And so I'm not going to go through the video of it. It's October 4th through 7th, and Dr. Ivan Misner, he can actually confirm this. It has never ever been easier to qualify for Member Extravaganza than it is this year. Yeah. Never ever in the past 9 some odd years has it ever been this easy to qualify. And all it takes is a chapter to sponsor 3 new members in 2 months, April 1 through May 31st, or any single member who sponsors 3 or more members in the same region qualifies. And we expect to award at least 1 winner from every single region. So last year, I think we sent Lisa like 21 combined in the whole US. This year, the goal is 121 because I want to beat the old record by 1. So we want to go big this year and want to get as many people on this ship with Ivan as possible. To be able to spend 3 days and 4 nights with Ivan and all the other winners is pretty spectacular, and one that I know I would look forward to myself. And so having said that, you want to open up to any questions anybody has?
Yeah, I'd love to. Probably the best thing to do is to have people raise their hands and we can call on them, although they could use the chat box, but calling on them is easiest. And just so you know, everybody, I will be there for the whole cruise, and I'm going to ask that people, we have the same seating each night for dinner, and we'll ask that different people sit at my table every night, so we'll have a chance to meet many of you. There'll be a mixer. I think at the beginning of the cruise, there'll be a presentation that you and your guests are welcome to come to. And I think, I can't guarantee this, but I think one night we'll party in my suite. I've generally been able to do that, and so that's my goal. So it'll be fun. I promise you'll have time to sit and chit chat with me. George, you have a question?
Yes. So to clarify, if a member invites 3 members or individuals and they join the chapter, they get into a drawing. Is that correct? And if the chapter gets 3 members, then everyone in the chapter gets in the drawing as well. Is that how it works?
No, the 3 people who brought people. Okay. So if you, me, and Lisa brought 1 person each one of us would have 1 chance in the drawing. If you by yourself brought 3, you'd have 3 chances.
Okay, very good. Thank
Make
you.
sense?
Yes, sir.
And of course, if somebody brings 6, then they've got 6 chances in the drawing. That's correct, right, Ron?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, glad you asked. What else? We've answered every question you have. Danya, I think it's Danya.
Great day, great day. Yes, to piggyback off George's question, so that as far as the 3, that's not about the net of the chapter number. It's just
No.
straight up sponsorship. Okay.
Correct.
All right. And then I had a question for Elaine
Yeah, great.
about your after visit follow-ups with the visitors. What does that kind of look like? Because I think, that's where oftentimes the ball is dropped in the follow-up with the visitors. So do you all have a outline or a guideline? What does that look like?
Sure. So our best practice is, again, let's say that I invited you to our chapter meeting, right? And you showed up. So like after the chapter meeting's over, everyone, let me back up one more step. While you're at our chapter meeting, we give you a visitor card. You fill out the card with your name, your information, and then your level of interest. 1, you're interested in applying. 2, I got questions. 3, this isn't for me. So I invite you, the next morning, I am calling you and saying, thank you so much for visiting. So the person who invites calls their visitor. That's the best practice in our region, is the person who invites calls their visitor. And then based on the information on the card, what we do, like say if they mark a 1 or a 2, at that point, that's when the vice president, our vice presidents call to say, hey, thank you for coming to our chapter meeting. You marked a 1, meaning you're interested. Do you mind if I share with you what those steps look like to become a member? Or if they mark a 2, I understand you have some questions. How can I help you with that? Typically, the questions are always about the money. Then the vice president answers that question. And at that point, once they apply for membership, the membership committee starts the interviewing process. So we put a lot on our vice president and the person who invites.
Cool. Good
Thank
question.
you.
Good question and great response.
Right. Well, on a visitor's day, based on like with the I Got a Guy chapter that had and then also with Nuga Power, on those days, the person who invites also does the follow-up call to say thank you and follows up with the visitor card. Because you can't put 38 cards on the vice president or they're going to run. They're going to quit. And I don't want that to happen.
No,
But that's our typical follow-up.
yeah. The secret sauce is the follow-up, right?
It really is. It really is. And the thing is with follow-up, well, Ron, I thought you were doing it. No, I thought Lisa was doing it. No, I thought Lynette was doing it. No, you do it.
Yep.
And when there's no follow-up, it's like a lot of effort and you don't get the results that you hope for.
Yep.
The follow-up is where you get the results that you're hoping for.
Yep.
Exactly. Because a lot of times people say, I don't want to do a visitor's day because they don't work. It's not that the visitor day didn't work. We didn't work after the visitor day.
Hello. You're correct. Carlene, you have a question?
Yes, you mentioned the visitor's interest card. Could you tell us more about that, or where we could find one or create one for the visitors that attend the BNI? And you have them fill it out at the meeting.
They fill it out at the meeting. So when our visitors come in let me back up to, of our 25 chapters, 23 of them meet in person. So I'm referring to in-person visitor days. So when our visitors show up, they sign in on a sheet, the visitor sheet, and then we hand them a card. And on the card, we list out like all the acronyms, what we're talking about. What is a CEU? What does thank you for closed business mean? What is one-to-one? So we give you all of that. And then it says, then we put a 1, 2, 3. 1, I'm interested. 2, I've got questions. 3, not interested. And so the visitor host is giving them the card when they sign in. And then the visitor host also picks up those cards at the end of the meeting.
Super cool.
And I want to elaborate on that a little bit. So this comes from our expression of interest, which is something that we'll be training to at leadership training. If you have more questions or want to see an example of the card, you can get it from your managing director or executive director. Expression of interest will be a digital QR code that your chapters have available if your region uses a QR code, which is, do not go out and start creating your own QR code. It connects directly to BNI Connect. So if you did that, you'd be creating a system that you don't need to create, and it actually would not be functional within BNI Connect. So we'll have an integrated system that actually will have this built in, either as a QR code, or if your executive director decided to do it manually, it will be a manual process. So all this will be trained at the next leadership training, when the leadership training comes out next, when you shift over. So please contact your managing director or executive director for more information in the meantime, how you can best do this.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Lisa, thank you so much, because it has been game changer.
Awesome. Glad.
We had a follow-up question asking, what does the role of the visitor host?
Is that for me? Okay, so in our region, the visitor host is the one greeting the people when they get there, right? Getting everyone signed in. They are introducing people during the meeting, and then after the meeting, they're collecting the visitor cards. That's their role. Because we are all, every single member is a visitor host. So because if you think about it, visitor host, I am hosting my visitor.
Mhm.
And so it's just like your wedding reception, right? You're sending thank you cards to the people who came and gave you a gift. You're following up with those people. You're not asking somebody else to write your thank you card for your gift.
That's a great analogy.
So hopefully, does that answer your question?
I think
Yes, it did. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I think that wraps us up for today. And so get the word out to your chapters, everyone, and your members every Monday through May. We'll be doing these, and Dr. Ivan Mazin will be joining us. And
We'll be here on almost all of them. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I'll be here next week. So tell your members, come on in so they can ask questions about the member extravaganza. Every year that this has been done well, it has made a dramatic impact, positive impact on the U.S. membership. So let's do it again this year.
Love it. Thank you, everyone. 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock Eastern, every Monday. Shout it from the rooftops. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.